The following story is a dramatized narrative created for entertainment purposes only and does not depict real events. None of the individuals portrayed have actually behaved in the manner described. This fictional account is produced by America Report TV. Welcome back to America Report TV, where we bring you deep dives into Hollywood, media culture, and the moments that spark big conversations. Today we're exploring a fully fictional dramatization imagining what might happen if one of Hollywood's most private and universally respected stars, Keanu Reeves, found himself in an uncomfortable situation on daytime television and decided he'd had enough. Again, this is not a real event but a creative exploration of how a clash of personalities could play out in a high-pressure TV environment. So let's step into the story. The lights of the studio are bright, brighter than most people expect when they watch a show from the comfort of their living rooms. Cameras glide across the floor like silent ghosts. The audience murmurs with excitement, knowing today's guest is someone they rarely see in such a talkative setting. Keanu Reeves, known for his humility, his quiet charisma, and his reluctance to indulge in Hollywood drama, is seated backstage with a cup of tea in his hands. He's dressed simply, as always, in a dark suit without the excessive flair so many celebrities bring to daytime television. The producers hover around him with polite but nervous energy. They know it's a big deal having him here. He doesn't do this often. Keanu gives them a gentle smile, the kind that instantly calms a room. He says he's happy to be here and is looking forward to a light conversation. Maybe they'll talk about his new project. Maybe they'll discuss his creative process. Whatever it is, he's prepared to answer respectfully and keep things positive. Backstage, everything feels smooth. Everything feels calm. But once he steps out onto the stage, that calm begins to shift. The hosts of the show greet him warmly at first. The atmosphere is friendly, even playful, as they settle into their chairs. The audience claps enthusiastically, thrilled to see him in person. Keanu nods humbly, gives a small wave, and takes his seat. The interview begins with predictable questions about his latest film, about the stunts, about his dedication to his craft, which has become legendary. Keanu responds with the gentle humor and sincerity people love him for. The conversation flows effortlessly, for a while, but then the tone changes. Joy Behar leans forward in her chair. Her expression shifts into something sharper, more probing, the kind of look that signals she's about to stir the pot. Keanu notices the shift, but he stays relaxed. He's used to unusual questions. He's handled stranger interviews before with grace. Joy begins pressing into areas of his personal life that he rarely discusses publicly. At first, Keanu responds politely, redirecting the conversation back to his work. The crowd chuckles at his ability to dodge intrusive questions without ever appearing rude. But Joy doesn't take the hint. She keeps digging. What starts as playful teasing slowly becomes invasive, then uncomfortable. The other hosts shoot nervous glances at one another, unsure whether to intervene. Keanu remains composed. His voice stays even and calm. But there's a tension around his eyes now, a slight narrowing that only the front row can see. He tries again to steer the interview back to professional territory. Joy circles back. She pushes harder. The studio energy begins to change. Some audience members squirm in their seats. Even those who normally enjoy provocative banter can feel the shift. It no longer feels like a joke. It feels personal. Keanu takes a quiet breath, the kind he takes in interviews when he needs a second to remain patient. But Joy interrupts him mid-sentence. She throws out a comment that crosses from curiosity into something sharper, something that pokes at old wounds he never publicly discusses. And that's when everything changes. Keanu stops speaking. The room falls silent. Even Joy seems to realize she pushed too far, but the words are already out. They've landed like a sudden, cold gust. Keanu sits there for a few seconds without saying anything. His silence is louder than the applause that started the show. A few audience members look genuinely distressed, unsure what they've just witnessed. He finally replies in the calmest, most grounded voice imaginable. There is no anger in it. No raised tone. Just a simple boundary drawn with absolute clarity. He says he came to talk about his work, not to have his private life dissected on national television. He mentions that everyone deserves respect, even in a talk show environment where entertainment is the goal. His words are measured, mature, and unmistakably firm. Joy tries to laugh it off, but it doesn't land. The humor is gone. The other hosts sense the tension and attempt to shift the conversation, but the moment has already transformed the room. Keanu nods politely to the panel, stands up from his chair, and thanks the audience for their support. The applause is hesitant at first, then grows more genuine as people realize he's leaving. He gives a gentle wave, the same humble gesture he made when he entered, but this time there's finality in it. He exits the stage with the same unassuming grace he entered with, but the studio now feels unsettled. Joy is left sitting with a stunned expression. The other hosts scramble to fill the silence with quick commentary, forced laughter, and attempts to lighten the mood. But the energy refuses to bounce back. They wrap the segment earlier than planned. Backstage, Keanu is quiet. A producer rushes over to apologize profusely, insisting they didn't anticipate the questioning would go that direction. Keanu tells them it's fine, no anger in his voice, just a certain sadness. He's disappointed, not outraged. Disappointed that what should have been a simple promotional conversation turned into something uncomfortable. He thanks the crew for their hospitality, shakes hands with everyone who approaches him, and walks out of the building with the same calmness he brought in. Word of the moment begins to spread almost immediately. Staff members whisper about it in hallways. Audience members tweet vague comments from the lobby before the taping even finishes. The production team scrambles to decide how much of the segment they can use in the final cut, knowing the moment will attract attention but also aware that the show's reputation could take a hit. In the world of television, controversy can be currency, but not all controversy is created equal. This one feels different. This one feels like a misstep. As the fictional situation unfolds in the digital world, fans of Keanu react predictably, with fierce loyalty. They start discussing the incident online. Some defend his boundaries, others criticize the show's approach. A debate rises about the responsibility of talk shows, the expectations placed on celebrities, and the cruelty of probing into personal histories that people choose to keep private. Conversations ignite about empathy, respect, and the importance of remembering that celebrities are human beings with real emotions and real experiences. Meanwhile, Joy becomes the center of another debate. In this fictional universe, she faces questions about whether she crossed a professional line, whether she misread the moment, or whether she intentionally pushed to create drama. Commentators in this imaginary world chime in with their takes. Some defend her provocative interview style. Others argue that tact and emotional intelligence are essential in modern media, especially when dealing with guests known for their privacy. As the fictional story circulates, Keanu remains silent. He doesn't address it on social media. He doesn't issue a statement. He doesn't call out the show or attempt to explain himself. Instead, he continues working on his next project, letting the moment pass as quietly as he left the stage. His lack of engagement becomes its own message, speaking to the kind of person he is often portrayed to be in real life: calm, centered, uninterested in fueling drama. The show, however, is forced to confront the fallout within this fictional scenario. Producers hold emergency meetings, discussing how to handle viewer reactions, how to address criticisms, and whether they should issue a statement. They consider releasing an apology for the uncomfortable moment, or at least clarifying that Keanu was treated with respect behind the scenes. But they also fear that addressing it directly could amplify the situation. Within the world of this story, the segment becomes one of the most watched clips of the month. People replay the moment where Keanu calmly stands up. They analyze his tone, his body language, and the exact moment they believe the line was crossed. Commentators break down the psychology of celebrity interviews, the ethics of asking personal questions, and the cultural fascination with pushing famous people to their emotional limits. Viewers begin discussing a bigger issue reflected in this fictional event: the shifting expectations of audiences. Once upon a time, viewers enjoyed shocking moments, confrontations, and invasive questions as entertainment. But today, the culture is changing. People value empathy more. They notice tone. They respect boundaries. And when someone crosses those boundaries, especially with a figure as universally admired as Keanu Reeves, the public reacts. In this dramatization, even Joy eventually reflects on the moment. Whether on air or in behind-the-scenes leaks imagined in this story, she admits she may have misread the situation. She acknowledges Keanu's dignity and expresses regret for making him uncomfortable. This moment becomes its own point of conversation among fans, sparking discussions about humility, growth, and the ability to admit when something went wrong. The fictional scenario becomes a cultural flashpoint not because of drama, but because of what it symbolizes: a shift toward kinder media, a reevaluation of how we engage with